So in a previous video, I started the process of trying to convert this drill press into a mill, and the feedback was overwhelmingly negative. But, you know, that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I just kind of don't really give a shit. So I'm going to continue on that route, and the next step what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and brace this thing, and let me go ahead and explain what I'm talking about. So first of all, the location of the actual vise is stupid. This riser thingy is not stable at all. It's literally just a little collar that pinches around this, and it goes up and down on this rail. So I'm totally going to ditch that whole thing. And what I also don't like is the fact that the way this thing is held up to the table that it mounts on is literally just a tube going inside of here with a couple of set screws. I don't really trust that. So it'll stay there, but what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to build some gussets that kind of avoid all of this crap and weld onto the side of this. That way I can drill holes through here and have bigger bolts, maybe even some rubber bushings on there. That way it's going to stabilize things and keep it better mounted at its base. And then I'm going to shorten this, basically just make it to where probably the shortest tool it's a whole deal. So this isn't going to be, you know, the milliest mill in the whole wide world, but it's going to be a little more like a mill after this, hopefully. This is all taken apart, and as you can see, that's the extent of how far that went in there. Not very far. And on the bottom, it only went down about that far and then bolted in on a plate. And you can see that this tube is pretty thin, maybe 0.95 wall. It's ground to a taper on there so you don't cut yourself. So it looks a little thinner on this end than it actually is, but I'm guessing that's 0.95, maybe 1/8 if we're lucky. But yeah, well, having a large diameter tube definitely allows for torsional resistance and a lot of other benefits, even if it is thin walled. I don't think that's going to work for what I want. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that tube in there. Maybe eventually I'll go get a thicker one, but that tube's going to stay just to kind of help locate the thing. And then what I'm going to do is figure out how long I need it, essentially, how far I want it to come off of the base. And then I'm going to build a gusset off of it. And once that's all done, I'm going to try to make sure everything stays square with this portion here. I'm going to take off the light for now. I will try to build everything around it so I can keep the light, because that's a cool light, but if I have to ditch the light, then, you know, so be it. I should unplug this. So I went ahead and cut all my pieces out, including a base plate for the whole thing to be welded to. You can see I kind of wised up halfway through and started using a straight edge, but whatever, the bottom important part's straight. So yeah, now I just got to weld all that stuff together. First though, the way I made these guys, these uprights, is they're going to attach to this with bolts because that is cast, and I don't want to go trying to weld that and expect it to hold up with a bunch of vibration. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a bunch of 1/4 inch through bolts. Figured smaller holes will be better than a couple of big holes because, you know, I don't want to stress it too much. But anyways, yeah, that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. I don't know how well you can see here, but I really torched that bit. Despite my best efforts. Probably ruined it, but oh well. I got another 5/16 bit. so this is what I've got so far. I got this base plate, everything tacked up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stiffen up this base plate with some tube, because that's where a lot of flex is coming from, is this thing still kind of wants to wiggle. But thankfully the flex isn't coming from anywhere else, so once this is more rigid, I think that'll take a lot of the vibration out of this, as I intended for it to do. That's the whole point of all the braces. But what I'm also going to do is I realize that there's going to be this kind of travel and that kind of travel. So having those braces that way, I need some sort of a triangle. Now, if I had the foresight, I would have cut only one of these big pieces in 2 small gussets and just made it a straight triangle, but now I'm gonna make sort of an X pattern. I'm gonna cut much smaller gussets that'll hopefully not interfere with the clamp, but like I said, first step is gonna be to stiffen this up, and then I'm gonna locate the clamp, get that all positioned, and then I'm gonna figure out what dimensions I can have those other 2 gussets be. That way I have all the bracing I need, and then from there I guess I'll just weld everything up if it works. Alright, well I'm going to take a quick break from progression and to go ahead and weld up what I have here. Now, one thing I'll need to do is try to keep the welds off of this tube as much as possible. Try to keep it very low temp, because this tube is much thinner and I really don't want this to warp. Even with all this bracing, it's still possible, and I really want to avoid it, because right now I have this thing like perfectly square on like all the angles, and this piece, to the best of my ability, is square with that. Now I know it's probably not super precise, but again, I'm not building aerospace shit here, so it doesn't really matter. It just needs to be close enough to fit. Alright, so now all I gotta do is position the vise and possibly build a stand. For now I'm just gonna clamp it to these sawhorses to test it out, but things coming pretty close to done. My phone's almost dead, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that thing chill and charge for a minute, and I guess tune back in when I'm done with the vise. Alright, well, here it is. Everything's pretty much done, at least up till this point. I'm gonna do the stand in the next video, but right now I'm just gonna go ahead and clamp this, and then I'm gonna try to mill me a little U shape out of this block of wood, and then I'm gonna move up to aluminum, and then maybe try doing it with steel too. I'm doing it all with this carbide ball burr, because it's the closest thing I got to an end mill. The finished product, I had to make moving the clamps to accommodate for my fixed or locking Z-axis, whatever you want to call it. It's just a little manual winch on the hand deal. But anyways, that's all done now. I go ahead and roll that back up where it needs to be. Lock that in place. So now I'm gonna go ahead and one thing I did notice is if you look down here, the vise has quite a bit of wiggle to it on these and right there as well. Now my friend Dave just came in here a minute ago and let me know that these are adjustable, so I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that nut and try to tighten these up a bit. Here's a little chunk of aluminum I found. I'm gonna just try to mill it down to where the thick side's gone, and then I'll call that good. I don't want to do this too much without some sort of a cover. Well, my phone died, but I managed to remove, well, I recharged it obviously, but I managed to remove roughly that much material from this side, and it looks like that now. And that took me about probably 10 minutes, so I'd say that's fairly decent. It chatters a whole bunch, but this is also not a cutter designed for doing this. I also ground 3 flats in this to make it fit in the Jacobs chuck a little better, because this is for a collet chuck, but I probably didn't center those perfectly, so that's probably part of the chatter going on, but I would say this is plenty good for me. Now, fully aware that this is not like some super precise machine, because like I said, I squared it with a speed square. Everything was leveled with just a regular bubble level. So this is hardly super precise, but it is pretty darn close for, I mean, it's definitely as precise as I need it for anything that I'm doing in here. So yeah, this is, if anything, I just made this into a really badass drill press. So stiffening everything up with those new braces and basically building a whole new frame for it definitely made a huge difference. The thing's way more stable, and I went a little bit shallow on the depth because most of the stuff that I'm drilling is flat plate, and when I have a standard length drill in there, I still got about an inch. I don't usually drill holes through a lot of tube with this thing, so I mean, it'll work out just fine having that lack of a Z there. And then, like I said, I got my little super fancy proprietary locking Z-axis system here. Real state of the art there. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, because it really helps out. And other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless.